As the crisis escalates, pressure is mounting on Vladimir Putin. New Western sanctions are isolating Russia even further and devastating the Russian economy. But that's also fueling concerns that Putin could become more erratic. Our foreign correspondent James Longman has the latest from Moscow on Putin and his inner circle.
For Russia, every day of war is a step further into isolation, ever-tightening sanctions changing the lives of ordinary people. With the ruble sinking against the dollar, foreign reserves frozen, and a ban on foreign dealings with Russian businesses, France's finance minister this morning saying the West intends to collapse Russia's economy.
I don't have that much money, but I took a little bit, but it is worrying.
This woman tells me the ATM didn't work for her, but she was able to line up and get cash from the teller.
Who do you think is to blame for this? Do you think it's Vladimir Putin, or do you think it's us, the West?
I support Putin, she says. It's our country. How can I feel otherwise? Another man isn't as lucky as the lady.
You don't have any cash?
And this bank don't have cash.
So you couldn't get cash out of this bank?
No.
Why?
You know.
Protests continue. Now nearly 7,500 people arrested in more than 100 towns and cities across the country. Putin has his support, of course, but this war could turn back 30 years of progress, and not many want that. The Russian Tourist Board says 150,000 Russians are now stranded abroad. Their flights cancelled, their bank cards not accepted.
What we're dealing with here is a government that's lying to its people, the people starting to figure out that they have been lied to. But because of the repression in Russia, they don't have very many outlets to express their discontent or to do anything about it.
On camera Monday, Putin responding to the newly imposed sanctions on Russia, referring to the West as an empire of lies. And this morning, we're also taking a closer look at Putin's state of mind. Photos of him sitting far apart from his other world leaders and even his own top advisors. Few reports that he's remained isolated in recent years and hunkered down during COVID. So what about his inner circle? Sergei Shoigu, Russia's defense minister, is thought to be closest to him. They've been known to go on hunting expeditions together. Sergei Lavrov, Putin's foreign minister, he may be the public face of the regime, but it's thought not as close to the president. Chief spy Alexander Bortnikov, he's head of the FSB, successor to the Soviet spy agency, the KGB, and apparently a trusted advisor. Those closest to Putin share his Cold War mentality, so even if he is listening to advice, it may only be what he wants to hear.
And James Longman joins us live now from Moscow. James, when it comes to Putin's inner circle, who's making what decisions? Do we know what kind of advice he's getting?
We don't know anything, Diane. That's the kind of secret of Vladimir Putin. He keeps everything very, very close. The Russian people have as much of an idea as you or I do. What's become quite clear over the last few years is become increasingly isolated. Actually, Emmanuel Macron, the French president, had told apparently his counterparts that when he spoke to Putin, he found a changed man. He was very different to the man that he'd known before the coronavirus pandemic. So there is a sense that this is a man in isolation, not wanting to get close to people he was otherwise close with. But there are people at the top who are, we understand, still kind of close to him. Sergei Shoigu, you heard in that piece there, the defense minister here, is among them. But there is an idea that these are all men from the Cold War era. These are all men with the same mentality as he has. And Sergei Shoigu, we should say, the defense minister, there's a possibility that he is feeding Vladimir Putin a story that Putin wants to hear but has no bearing on what's actually happening on the ground. Because if you think about it, for Sergei Shoigu, he's not going to come to his boss, Vladimir Putin, and say, yeah, the invasion's not going that well. Do you imagine that anyone in this regime is going to go to Vladimir Putin to tell them they're not doing their job properly? Probably not. So the sense is that even if he isn't isolated, the people around him are probably not telling him the truth. And it's more likely, therefore, and we heard it there from Ian, that what you'll see in Syria, in Ukraine, is a response like the one we saw in Syria, which is to get more vicious as the conventional invasion maybe falters. People in this city, here in Moscow, the elites cannot afford for this invasion to go wrong. Vladimir Putin can't afford for it to go wrong, but also those around him can't. So as they realize their political future is invested in this invasion in Ukraine, what you'll see there is it get more vicious, and here the lies continuing. So it's all signs point to a very worrying kind of vicious circle. Diane?
Well, and James, I have to ask, how dangerous is that whole recipe that you just laid out there, given that this is a man that does have access to nuclear weapons?
It doesn't feel good, does it? I mean, look, one has to hope that everything, it's all a threat, and threats never materialize. But Look, he has support here. I was out in the street today speaking to people, and there is a sense that every now and again they're shocked and kind of upset by what they hear. Like the invasion of Kiev, the first day of it, I think there was a real sense of, oh my God, this is actually happening. But then Russians rally and they think, actually, we still support our president. Dan?
And James, really quickly, I know that this is already taking a toll on the Russian economy to the point that it's affecting everyday lives there. So how much are the Russian people likely to blame Vladimir Putin for that? Or how likely are they to blame the West for that?
It feels as though at the moment they're still blaming Vladimir Putin. Things here in Russia tend to happen slowly and then very quickly. So any collapse is not going to happen necessarily overnight. Russia still has its friends in China and Turkey who could support it through any prolonged period of sanctions. We've seen, major shipping companies like Maersk say they're no longer going to bring things to Russia in terms of trade. You know, that could mean that food gets cut off. But all these things are much further down the line. In the immediate sense, they're not seeing this just yet affect their lives. Diane?
All right, James Longman, we appreciate it. James, stay safe. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.